Welcome to ScreenSkills Lighting for All Skin Tones. In this programme, hosted by DOP Chas Appeti from Nothing Lost and me, Saul Gittens, in partnership with Procam Take 2, we're going to show you a variety of lighting setups that hopefully will help with various skin tones on their own and mixing different tones in the same frame. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty and myths surrounding this subject, mainly with either underexposed or in some cases burning out detail and highlights in darker complexions. And Chas, along with his partner Junior, both fresh from Amazon's new series Jungle, will show us how he copes with lighting a variety of skin tones. But before we go any further, there's some key information I want to share with you. As we are going through the various setups, I'll be showing you some of the kit we are using and sharing some useful information with you. So let's start with some common phrases that you'll hear during this training film. Firstly, the key light. I call this my main light or the primary light source, and therefore usually the brightest light. It's going to set the mood for the scene you're lighting. It's going to sell the story. Secondly, the fill light and what it does. This light, or even a reflector, will fill in the darker areas caused by the key light. And as I mentioned reflector, the easiest way to picture this is by holding silver foil in front of a light and moving it about. The bounce light can be seen to move too. Thirdly, the backlight. We use this to separate the actors or the subject matter from the background to create depth. As you see by the name or term for the lights, it really describes what its job is in the setups. Now, other bits of kit you will see used are flags and nets. A flag is a solid piece of material stretched over a frame and is used to block light. A net is, well, kind of like a fishing net really. These useful tools reduce light. Supposing your actor is wearing a white shirt and it's too bright. By placing the net in front of the light, it takes away some of the brightness without affecting what's happening to the face. Polyboard or poly is another common tool we use. This can either be a flag stopping light or reflector to bounce light back into the subject. It's white on one side to reflect the light and black on the other, which is known as neg or negative fill. And one last pointer on lighting, look out for the main light sources we have at our disposal. There are 4 distinct categories. LED, which stands for light emitting diode, tungsten, HMI, which is basically mercury, and lastly fluorescent, although we won't be using all of them in this film. So before we get started, just a quick mention on the camera we're using to record the before and after shots being lit. The Arri Alexa 35 will record in log, and we will show you the before makeup shots of our actors and then the after makeup shots. The after makeup shots will also be graded. By that we mean that a look is added to the finished shots to best represent or tell the story the director and the director of photography are trying to portray. And now, back to the training. Now, Chas, I know I've thrown you right in at the deep end. You've not done a recce, we're in a black hole.
It is a void, but we'll make this work. I think we'll start with something a bit more natural, maybe like a front room sort of setting, natural light coming through the imaginary window. Daylight
coming in through there then?
Daylight, yeah. Play with the bounce, you know, and just, yeah, see what we can do.
For all the hand-drawn setups you'll see in this film, we will also give a brief list of the lights used in each scene. These lighting plans are used by the DOP, the gaffer, who is usually the head of a team of electricians called Sparks, and any other relevant members of the crew. They show which lights are to be used and where they should go in relationship to the set. This lighting plan is usually worked out during a recce and is an important tool in the running of the shoot. The lights used for setup 1 were a Gemini 2x1 bicolour LED for the key light. We added to this an 8x4 white poly and a 4x4 foot white poly for bounce fill. A black drape was used for negativity or negative fill, and 2 flags were used to control the key light, while the F2 trace frame brought fill to the actor, mimicking a ceiling over his head.
So, Chas, just give me a run through of what you've done here.
Cool, so obviously we're like working in a dark studio. It's pretty much, you know, it's a black studio, it's a void, so one of the first things we sort of done is to make sure it feels like a room. So we've introduced like some flats at the back. Along this side here, which you don't see in shot, we've got a big poly reflecting the light in. This top corner over here, we've got an LED panel, literally at an angle, shooting straight down. Then at the front of the shot, just out of shot as well, at the front here, we've got another poly at a slight, tiny angle, just to key his eyes out a little bit, just to try and keep it as natural as we can. So really, the only light source is literally coming from the top corner. Everything else, we're just bouncing the light back in, keeping it nice and soft.
So that's really simple. Really that's so simple, and that is your key light, your only light, and you're making it do quite a lot of work.
Most of the work, pretty much, yeah.
And what, because we're treating this, as you rightly said, as a portrait.
Yeah.
What do you want to get from him?
Shape is a really important thing with a portrait. I always find if you add too much light to a shot like this, it becomes flat, has no depth to it. So it's really important to just try and keep a bit of shape in his face.
Now, as you said, we're in a studio, which is you know.
Yeah, that's like the opposite of what you'd be trying to do on set.
So as you were working, you said you wanted to put a little ceiling in there.
Yeah, so we've got a trace frame above the top, doing the same thing what a bit of poly would do, just to give it a bit of shape on the top of his forehead as well here, which if we take it away, yeah, you'll see how much of a difference it makes to the shape of his face.
Put it back on again, please, Sam.
So you see how it's just filling in, because you'd have a ceiling in a room, so it's doing the same thing as what you'd have as a ceiling. And if you wanted to make it more moody, if you was in a white room and you wanted to make it more moody, you'd probably paint the ceiling black, or just cover the ceiling, so you're not getting a reflection, so you can get that depth if you wanted to have it.
So now would be the time to talk about makeup?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah?
Just to make the shot pop.
We're at the point now where we're going to bring Lola, your makeup artist, in.
Yeah, so what we do here from now is obviously just want to tidy everything up in the shot. So looking at it, probably this area here we want to try and dull down a little bit, this side of the face. Bring out the features a bit more on the opposite side.
Do we want to keep him looking natural? Because he does have quite dark under circles. Are we going to keep that, or are we going to blur it out?
I think we'll keep that around the eye part. Gives it a bit more, little bit more shape.
And this area here with his beard hair as well, there's a contrast because we're getting a lot more of the white hair coming through because of the lighting.
That's a good
Do we
point.
want to tone that down or keep it the same?
Yeah, I think if we bring this down a bit more on the neck, make it maybe a little bit darker around the neck, it should bring the jawline in a little bit.
No problem. Do you want it cool toned or warm toned, his skin?
I think we'll keep it warm.
Yeah. Are we keeping it with a white light, or are you using any gels?
No, that's the daylight.
That's the daylight.
That's going to stay. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
When we were looking on the monitor, there was a lot of light coming in on this area of the head. One of the problems we face with people that have bald heads is that there's a lot of light that reflects off them. So we want to make sure that we're going to tone that down without actually making you look flat. So I'm going to deceive the camera a bit. One of the problems is that a lot of darker skins have a lot of multi-tones in them. So when people come and try and apply product on the face, it ends up making you like one-dimensional. But we've got a lot of different colours that come through your skin. We've got gold, we've got a little bit of undertone of red as well. So I'm going to try and pick those up and keep that in your skin. Some of the biggest mistakes that I find a lot of people make when they're working with darker skin tones is not being able to kind of tell the difference between the variety of skin tones. They might kind of see 3 people standing side by side and think, oh, I don't quite have the right product to do everybody differently, and end up using the same thing. If they don't have the right products on set, mix and match and apply different shades on different areas rather than trying to apply the same shade all over. Right now I'm mixing 3 different shades, which is what you'll usually find with a lot of darker skins, that they might have several different colours, and just work it in. One of the most important jobs that I have on set is making sure that I have a good relationship with the director and the DOP, because I have to bring their vision to life. It's not about necessarily what I want to do, it's about what they want to see in the character and bring that to screen. So I have to find out all about the lighting. I need to understand what gel colours they're going to be using, because that, if I'm working with females, the colour of the gel is going to affect the way that the lipstick that I choose. If they want a red lipstick, I have to make sure that it's going to work right with the blue lighting or the orange gel that they're going to use. So understanding how the lighting looks on set is going to affect the finished product for me with the actor or the actress as well. Understanding how they want the skin to look. Do they want it to be fresh? Do they want it to be glowing? Because really my job is to bring their vision to life. I try to stay as close as possible to the monitor at all times, always checking my work, because I need to know, is the lighting working? Is everything working cohesively together with the look that I've created? Also, a lot of different skin types react to lighting differently. So whether they have oily skin or whether they have dry skin, I need to make sure whether I need to rehydrate the skin tone or if I need to matte it down as well. So being around constantly and checking how the lighting looks on the person's skin is one of the really important jobs of being a makeup artist on set. Just reapplying some reflective mineral powder so that we're picking up on the high points on screen. When I was speaking to Chas earlier on, we have a lot of light coming in from the right side of the actor. And we want to also balance out on the left side so that we see some of it coming through in the darkness, popping out. Because we want to reintroduce shape back in, otherwise this whole side of the face ends up getting lost. You also don't want it to be that noticeable, but because it is in the darkness, it needs to be able to pop out without looking like it's artificially applied in there. So we're really blending that down into the skin. Yeah, that's perfect, he's done. I'm just going to seal his makeup in now with a setting spray. This is a radiant setting spray. You have different types of setting spray. Some are mattifying, some are hydrating. I've chosen to go with a radiance one, so that's also going to give him some lift without mattifying him too much. We don't want him to look flat on the screen. Understanding how different products work in different situations is very important. One size doesn't fit all.
So you've done your work. Obviously there was, and it's quite interesting because it evolves as well. It's an organic process of coming to the monitor.
Yeah.
You two guys were chatting about stuff, and tell me what you first noticed and then what you asked Lola to work on.
Yeah, everything was correct. It was just the application of like where we put the shine was just a little bit too heavy across the top of the head and the forehead. So it's just reducing that a little bit to bring the shape in more, and then just shaping the cheeks a little bit more, wasn't it, pretty much?
Yeah.
Because it was quite interesting where that F2 trace frame was lowered in. We all noticed that Carl's got this shape. Quite hard lines going on here. Yeah. So Carl, if you just turn left and right for me slowly, so it just explains to me what you then saw.
He's got natural, with the shape of his actual face, he's got some hard indentation lines which go from his forehead across his cheekbones. So he has quite beautiful prominent cheekbones, but there's also an area that sinks in, and that brings out a lot of shadows which get picked up. So depending on the actor, your lighting might be great, but how does the actor's face work in that lighting?
Well, that's one thing that we've talked about quite a lot. When I first talked to Chas, we were saying that there's no hard and fast lighting setup, or now we've seen makeup setup. It's a combination of bringing everything together: the location, the lighting, the actor, the props, the costume. You know, it really is. There's not one way.
Yeah, and it's quite a fluid process where you have to keep changing until it works.
Adjustment, that's it.
Yeah.
As I explained in the introduction, we will show you a left-handed shot from the Alexa 35 which shows before Lola has applied makeup, and a right-hand shot which will show you after the makeup has been applied, which is after Chas has lit the scene. These are then followed by the shot before it is graded in the edit, and then the same shot with the grade or look added by either the colorist or the editor. Lights used for setup 2 were 2 Gemini 2x1s as 3/4 backlights. Now that is a backlight that isn't directly behind our actors but slightly off to the side. Then there were 5 Astera LED tube lights, 3 acting as in-vision backlights and 2 for front fill. A 4x4 black floppy flag was used to control the camera left side Gemini, while we used a flag to help control the right hand Gemini.
So this is quite an extreme look, done quite quickly.
Yeah.
I really like that a lot. Just tell us what you've done.
So yeah, so the 2 sort of like front fills, we killed them. Slightly changed the body position of them. And yeah, it's pretty simple. That's it really. I mean, this is quite an extreme sort of silhouetted fill, you know.
So what I'm really seeing here is that he is quite sharp compared to her. She seems softer. How does that happen?
Because with the skin work that I did on the both of them, because of the colours we were using before, I did actually use blurring products on her skin because she was having quite a lot of red coming through on that side and she had the blue on that side, so to balance it out. But with himself, I didn't actually use a lot of light reflecting products on his skin. I did also on his side put the highlights on that side,
right,
because of the way he was facing before. So
yeah,
now
you can see it really pop.
Yeah,
that's amazing really control from using makeup.
Which is why it's really important for the artist and the DOPs and directors to really have a communication, because if you do one thing and then they change the setup,
it's
totally
affected everything.
Affects everything. I mean, if I was doing a makeup based upon this red light, I would have gone with the warmer tone, like what I said previously. Yeah. I had used cool tone, but now
you put that silver, there was that little bit of silver in, which is obviously going to help that blue. It's that little bit towards the coal.
Yeah, but if it's all red, then the red is picking up on the oranges, which I would have gone with the golden tone for the highlights.
Now, if I want to change that again, and lift a little bit,
make it not as extreme.
What can I do?
You can introduce just some bounce at the front.
Just to put a little bit of fill in,
a little bit of bounce off the light. So yeah,
there we go. It's like magic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And that I mean, that's a very, very quick effect.
Very quick. Yeah.
Just from we're in the main setup, we're lifting it in, and the nice thing is you can then, I suppose, walk it forward or back, depending on
how extreme you want. How much you want really. So yeah, it's quite versatile.
Brilliant. That's a great setup. Thanks very much. And then we're gonna on to the next.
On to the next one.
Cheers. Thank you.
Lights used for setup 3 were: outside the office was a 2.5 kilowatt HMI acting as the main key light. This helped control the ambient light in the room. And in front of that was a trace frame which helped soften the light. Inside, an Aladdin 1x1 with a softbox acted as a kicker light. An 8-foot by 4-foot poly acted as negative fill at the back of the room, controlling light from the rest of the windows. Finally, a 4x4 black floppy flag helped cut out bounce to the camera left of the setup.
So this is a totally different feel. Obviously, we're in an office environment, and we've set you another challenge. Just talk us through this one.
Yeah, so it's pretty overcast. outside, so we wanted to replicate it being like, you know, a nice sort of sunny-ish day with some natural light through the window. So we've got a bit coming through the window, a little bit of a kicker with a 1x1 up there, an LED, and yeah, and then we've got some neg on the other side, which is sort of hidden to the left-hand side of the frame.
And obviously we're getting a little bit off of here as well,
yeah,
in terms of tone, and as well as a little bit of a
the table's helping a bit, and the room itself's helping a bit, because it's obviously, you know, it's predominantly a white room, so yeah.
This is nice. I like this drop off here. It's almost,
yeah, still trying to isolate it a little bit by, you know, keeping shading areas. So,
it's almost like a little vignette.
Yeah, it's nice.
And let's talk about makeup, because when you guys were chatting as this was happening and saying that, in fact, there's very little to do here.
There is, yeah. I mean,
the way that you've lit the scene, it's beautiful and soft on her skin. I mean, she's got lovely skin. A lot of the time, we find we have challenges when you go in with too much makeup. It ends up taking away the actual texture of her skin. But you can find that on darker skins, you might find shadows and differences in the face and the neck, and balancing them out is something that you have to watch out for. So if I went in with too much coverage, I might end up creating a big difference between her neck and her face, which is a problem that a lot of darker skin women have. So I would keep her skin as natural as possible and just go in and take off shine and add highlights onto it.
So, as we were talking before, you know, the bits I've picked up is this kind of, she's got this lovely natural highlight here, which is what you were doing with Chimmery on the previous setup. And then she's got this lovely little wrap that's just that rim that's separating her and giving it that kind of feel of shape.
Definitely, because you can see that she almost has two different tones in that her face there's coming through quite a lot of warmth, but her neck is a lot cooler.
Yeah, definitely. And then should we bring focus up to our man?
In terms of the light, it feels pretty even, but we just probably with him, there's a few little blemishes we'd tidy up, and then maybe just bring a little bit more on the jaw, maybe make this a little bit darker underneath the jawline a bit more, just to cut his face out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, because he's losing definition.
Bit of shape there, just on his jawline there. Yeah.
So obviously, as with all locations, the sun has now come out. Earlier it was raining, so it's changed, I know, the perspective, the whole feel of the piece. Yeah, it's filled the ambience up in the room a lot more. Where we had a bit more shape here and here, it's filled the void up a little bit, and as you can see, the background's a little bit more blown out because there's actually sunshine outside now. And we had that kind of vignette feel where there was the drop off here, and also the table has really changed.
It's kicking off the table as well. Yeah, with actual real sun is.
But this, I so see. The big change for me is
it's great there. Yeah, it's great, that is. Yeah.
But I still love what's happening between the two of them in terms of their tonality on their skin.
Yeah. Still got the rim here as well, just about.
Anything else you change? I know you'd say.
Yeah, there's a couple of things, but you know where we are now. It's
like being on location, being pressed for time.
Exactly.
Which we are.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to crack on.
Yeah.
Get
brilliant.
through it. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. So on to the next setup.
On to the next one.
And lights used for setup 4 were: a 2.5 kilowatt HMI was used for the key light, but this was bounced off an 8x4 poly. so that helps soften and diffuse the light. A Biflex 4 helps lift the actor by adding a little kick to the face, while a 4x4 black floppy flag stopped any light on the camera left of the subject to bring some neg in from that side. The backlight, which was through the doorway, was supplied by nature.
So I brought you outside on a beautiful day, proving that England, we could have 4 different looks while you're trying to light, which obviously is a challenge. You've warmed up the white balance.
I have, yeah, because it's overcast, so it's made like a bluey tinge over everything. So just to cheat it a little bit.
So when you first went out there and started lighting, it was just the sun was out. And
it was a nice day.
We were going through a trace frame.
Yeah, we was going for a trace frame to make it softer because it was too hard.
Now we've got a 2.5 bounced with a Biflex 4x1.
Yeah, fill in the face.
Fill in the face.
And some neg just off a shot.
Cool, and this is, we haven't done any makeup yet. In fact, you've removed her makeup.
Yeah.
What are we going to do now? Or what are you going to do now?
Speaking with Chas, there's a lot of low contrast between herself and what she's wearing with the white and her skin tone, but the surrounding areas is very high contrast there. So want to bring her out a bit more, let her actually stand out in her environment. So we're going to look at putting on a red lipstick.
Bit of colour.
Colour, add that. Also create some shape in her face as well. I've had to braid down the front of her hair because there's a lot of humidity in the air, and one of the challenges that you face working with any kind of textured hair is the minute there's any humidity, the hair can just change through the whole shoot. It will just start changing in front of you on the camera, and trying to get it to stay in the same spot is difficult. So
wow.
With curly hair especially, you have to make sure if you're going to work with any humidity in the air, like try for braids.
Okay, so how long do you think that would take you?
To create the hair?
Yeah.
And depends on how intricate we're doing, but that only took me about 10 minutes just to make sure we don't get any flyaways and that the hair stays in place.
Okay, great. Are we going to take her out now and then do those
Lift her
changes?
Up,
let's do it now.
Add some dimension to her face because she's totally looking washed out at the moment.
Another thing I forgot to say as well is that we've got 1.2 ND on there as well. Yeah,
okay,
just because of the background was quite hot otherwise, so we just introduced some ND and then filled the front end.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Lola, do your thing.
Let's do it.
So, since we've taken our subject out and you have done your magic work, we've lost probably another half a stop.
We did.
So you've done your thing.
Yep.
You've done your thing, but to me, visually, my eye is drawn straight to her now.
Yeah, she's not being swallowed up by the scene.
No.
But the way that you've done the play with the light and the shadows, it's just really helping to shape her face as well and bring her out.
Yeah, and you've brought out the cheeks and with the red lipstick as well. And it's, you know,
the red's really looks well. A lot of the time, sometimes red can actually just end up being too overpowering, but
with so much green, it's working, isn't it?
Yeah.
Breaks up the image.
I noticed you were darkening the eyebrows as well?
Yeah, because framing her eyes, because they're actually quite small, so just helping to frame the eyes using the brows, because that just really helps to shape the face, and also putting a little bit of black liner behind her lash line really helps to pop out her eyes. Because
it's interesting, again, when we were initially chatting, and both on and off the camera, you two all the time are talking about what you're doing. So once again, it to me, it's reaffirming that relationship about how important the makeup is with the lighting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a big symbiotic relationship. It's like if either one of you doesn't communicate, you're not travelling in the right way.
And even the coloration of the frame in general, like we discussed, there's so much green, you needed red to make it pop out the middle. So that's just, that was a selection.
Because if I'd had a brief that they wanted something natural and I'd gone in with like a nude lipstick, she would just not stand
merge
out.
in. Yeah.
So obviously this has been a challenge, and now you know the other challenges because we've discussed it.
Yes.
We're going to go from the 35mm Vega onto the 50mm Vega.
So the same shot, just to show the
great. Let's go and do that
definition.
Then.
Yeah. Cool.
So, okay, we've gone from our 35 to our 50. Talk to me.
Okay, so what I've done is I've added another, the final bit of ND, so it's gone up to 1.8. Open the iris completely now, so it's wide open. Just to get a bit more fall off on the background to make it feel a bit more sympathetic, so it's not as hard and sharp.
Lola?
I was just going to say that something to note is that the lipstick that we used, even though it's red, it's actually a blue-based red. So it
A blue-based red?
Yeah, there's lots of different undertones even within the makeup scale. So you can have like an orange red, a brown red, a blue red. So I chose a blue red because that's going to work sympathetically with the green around it and not kind of overpower it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, because it looks slightly muted to me. That's how I describe it. It's a little bit knocked back, yet still it's just working so well with this tonal range that's happening here and those colours. And that looks just amazing. I love this. Great. Thank you for persevering during some of Britain's finest changes of weather.
Finally, setup 5 had a 2.5 kilowatt HMI as the key through the car window. This was softened heavily by the use of bleached muslin. Again, an 8 by 4 foot poly was used to create negative fill and stop reflections. There was also a velvet 1x1 LED through the sunroof with bleached muslin to add some diffuse fill to the subject. Finally, a Gemini 2x1 LED was used as a backlight to help with separation. The flag you see over the camera was to help reduce reflection and protect the camera operator and camera from the rain.
What you can do is bring another one, bring a shotgun.
You can stand over here, raise it high above the doorway and just...
So, last challenge of the day.
Yes.
Obviously, we've got another weather front.
Yes.
We've now, the rain has stopped, although we were doing this during the rain, as you can tell, because we've got this kind of happening there.
Yep.
So, tell me what you've done.
So what we've done, we've put some unbleached muslin across the front of the windscreen. Then we've got like a, what we've got there, is that 2.5 at the front there, blasting through the muslin at the front to make it nice and soft.
I noticed there's a bit of spot in the 2.5 as well.
Yeah, it's like just to get more output out of it basically, and it should disperse it anyway because of the muslin. And then we've got LED in the bottom around this area here.
Yeah.
Just pushing through the back, just so it's got a little bit of a rim around his neck here, and then we've got another LED going through the top of the sunroof.
Yeah, that's that 1x1, the velvet, which is looks. I love this here and this happening there.
And that's because that's sat on the muslin as well, you see, so it's softening it up. And then and then we've got a also got a flag a bit further back to calm this back this wall down here because it was a bit hot.
The sun was banging straight on that, wasn't it? But it's even changing as we speak now, isn't it? The sun's going down.
Yeah.
Lola, what do you need to do? Are you?
Well, his skin looks pretty good in that environment because with the muslin it's really diffused everything. All I would do is come in and take down some of the hot areas to avoid it looking greasy or shiny and just keep it looking, soft.
Now, if we do that, are we going to lose, because obviously the sun's dropping?
I would do it at the car.
Okay, do you want to do that then? I love that. Yeah. So, Lola, you've been in, you've worked your magic. Just tell us what you've done.
I've gone in with a silica-based blur stick, but it's one that's actually tinted, so it's got like a slightly skin tone beige tint to it. Because you run the risk if you use like the white ones, which they're supposed to be translucent, but they never actually are truly translucent on any skin tone that has a little bit of gold in it. So you can sometimes end up with a bit of a cast coming through. So understanding that not all products work exactly the same way on different skin tones is important.
But that was super quick. I mean, you went in and it's just, as you were saying, you know, you knew that there wasn't a lot to do. You were just going to do those subtle hints.
So you just want to like just take down the shine, but still keep the warmth in the skin.
Yeah, you can see that as well. It keeps really radiant.
The nice thing is where that was slightly blockier before, that's now it's sort of spread and softened out around the edges.
Yeah, nice.
But the nice thing is we're still seeing that relationship there.
Yeah.
And then look, that happens there. That Gemini out there. That little bit of a blue
just kicks it up.
kick. Yeah, brilliant. Great.
That's great.
Thanks. Job done. Car scene lit. So thanks to Chas for this session for ScreenSkills, lighting for all skin tones. It has been totally brilliant for me. I hope you've all enjoyed it as well. Thanks, man.
No problems. Thank you.
I have learned a lot. So we've gone through some major setups, interior, exterior, filters, muslin, all that stuff that we talked about. And I'm just going to say, we're out here.